I know it's been longer than a month. I'm back. Got promoted, had a birthday. My artist is dropping new music soon. Yeah. All right. Well, back to what you guys are here for. The fourth kill. Guard thy treasures from loss. All right. Let us begin. Misfortune loves a shining mark. Gold in a man's purse must be guarded with firmness, else it be lost. Thus, it is wise that we must first secure small amounts and learn to protect them from the gods entrust us before the gods entrust us with larger. So spoke Arcad upon the fourth day to his class. Every owner of gold is tempted by the opportunities where it would seem that he would make large sums by its investment in most plausible projects. Often friends, relatives are eagerly entering such investments and urge him to follow. In other words, the ideas might come, but again, trust a brickmaker to make bricks. All right? The first sound principle of investment is security for thy principal. It is wise to be intrigued by the larger earnings when thy principal may be lost. In other words, is it smart to be told about, oh, you can make this much, that much, oh, yada, 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 but there's a chance you could lose everything that you just worked hard to get? I say not, says Arcad. The penalty of risk is probable loss. Study carefully. Before parting with thy treasure, each assurance that it may be safely reclaimed. Be not misled by thine own romantic desires to make wealth rapidly. I want you to look at the most popular ads, mainstream stuff. They are saying exactly what he's saying not to do. Okay? Just be mindful, people, okay? Before thou loan it to any man, assure thyself of his ability to repay and his reputation for doing so, that thou mayest not unwittingly be making him a present of thy hard-earned treasure. Before thou entrust it as an investment in any field, acquaint thyself with the dangers which may beset it. In other words, do your homework, okay? Do your homework. My own first investment was a tragedy to me at the time. The guarded savings of a year I did entrust to a brickmaker named Asmer, who was traveling over the far seas and in Tyre, agreed to buy for me the rare jewels of the Phoenicians. These we would sell upon his return and divide the profits. The Phoenicians were scoundrels and sold him bits of glass. My treasure was lost. Today, my training would show me at once the folly of entrusting a brickmaker to buy jewels. What did I say earlier, right? Now, if it was to go buy bricks, Asmer would be the guy, okay? But we talking about jewels, and Asmer over here like, yeah, we can make this much. Now, let's replace jewels with, let's say, I don't want to say cars because, I mean, yes, if you don't have a mechanic on your team, do not get into no car sale business, okay? No used car sale business per se, for example. But this goes with anything, right? Let's say you make a lot of money in crypto, right? And this random person, or not a random person, your friend is telling you, yo, let's hop on this pump and dump scheme. First off, I do not condone pump and dump, but what were you to expect in a new market that doesn't have the right rules and guardrails around it? It's literally the Wild West. What do you expect? Some people like hopping in the Wild West. Me, you know what I'm saying? If I could position myself to, like, you know, sell the shovels to go do your little gold digging, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather do that. But because if you find it, good for you. If you don't, oh well. You know what I'm saying? I just gave you the tools. It's way better than me investing into it and losing because I was just, following the trend. Therefore, do I advise thee from the wisdom of my experiences, be not too confident of thine own wisdom in entrusting thy treasures to the possible pitfalls of investments. Better by far to consult the wisdom of those experienced in handling money for profit. Such advice is freely given for the asking, and may readily possess a value equal in gold to the sum thou considerest investing. In truth, such is its actual value if it save thee from loss. Very true. Very true. This then is the fourth cure for a lean purse, and of great importance if it prevent thy purse from being emptied once it has become well filled. Guard thy treasures from loss by investing only where thy principal is safe, where it may be reclaimed if desirable, and where thou wilt not fail to collect a fair rental. Consult with wise men. Secure the advice of those experienced in profitable handling of gold. Let their wisdom protect thy treasure from unsafe investments. So, let me translate. The first parts don't really need translation, but the last part is basically get a mentor. Okay? Get a mentor who has been successful in the space or adjacent spaces that you would like to be successful in. Yes. The fifth cure. What time is it? 8 minutes. All right. We might be getting a couple cures today, people, before I disappear again. But trust, I plan on doing better. I just had so much going on. You know what I'm saying? But let's hop into this fifth cure, people. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. If a man setteth aside 9 parts of his earnings, upon which to live and enjoy life, and if any of this 9 parts he can turn into a profitable investment without detriment to his well-being, then so much faster will his treasure grow. So spake, interesting. So spoke Arcad to his class at their 5th lesson. All too many of our men of Babylon do raise their families in unseemly quarries. Meaning, it's a lot of young men right here, or men in general, that are raising families in cribs that's some, you know what I'm saying? It ain't what it could be or what it should be. They do pay to exacting landlords liberal rentals for rooms where their wives have not a spot to raise the blooms that gladden a woman's heart. Their children have no place to play their games except in unclean alleys. Now that is, summer outside, I'm starting to see kids running around. Depending on where you live, that part may still be true. No man's family can fully enjoy their life unless they do have a plot of ground wherein child can play in the clean earth, and where the wife may raise not only blossoms, but rich herbs to feed her family. Now, this is definitely outdated because shawties don't got no cookbooks no more. You know what I'm saying? People would rather look at their phones. I feel like there is going to be some type of revitalization of like, being outside, and I'm saying, it's going to be a luxury. And but I don't know if that's anytime soon or like later. So yeah, but you know, I think it's better if your kid's outside than if your child is an iPad baby. You know what I'm saying? Because it stunts your creativity. Seriously. Seriously. To a man's heart, it brings gladness to fit the figs from his own trees, to eat the figs from his own trees, and the grapes of his own vines, to own his own domicile, and to have it a place he is proud to care for, putteth confidence in his heart, and greater effort behind all his endeavors. So, yes, own some land. It's important. Therefore, do I recommend that every man own the roof that sheltereth him and his. Now, again, this is just Arcad, the richest man in Babylon, chit chatting. You don't have to listen to him, okay? You don't. It's not, nobody's forcing you. Will you be comfortable? Potentially. Will you be less stressed? Potentially. But let's see how, they're talking about universal basic income. So we'll see how it rolls out. Because if you can pay for an apartment, you know what I'm saying, and that money you don't have to work for, it just comes from, let's say, AI productivity. But we'll see, because currently a lot of people are using AI and these companies are still not turning profit. So we'll see if the bubble is really a bubble. Find out in the next episode. Type beat. All right. Nor is it beyond the ability of any well-intentioned man to own his home. Meaning, if you have good intentions in life, you should be able to own a home. You know what I'm saying? Because you make a lot of money in your life. It's what you spend it on that matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I've previously spoke to you guys and mentioned how in one of the episodes, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you spending money at the club on bottles, the funny thing is those same people that you spend on, and like in their head, you should be able to do that whenever you feel like it. But if you're not at that level, then you're basically delaying your climb to get to that level. So essentially, you're selling a dream. You are selling a dream. It's okay if it's for a night, but don't make that a lifestyle. Because if by focusing on that, you're actually depriving yourself of getting to the actual point to where it makes sense to, swipe on a bottle and you don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes money to make money. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to use these other cures I just gave you if you can't even get past the first part, which is acquiring a lean purse? Does that make sense? All right. Hath not our great king so widely extended the walls of Babylon that within them much land is now unused and may be purchased at sums most reasonable? Now, we're not in Babylon, but America does have a lot of land. You know what I'm saying? It has a lot of land out in the Midwest. And I know this because I was in the Midwest not too long ago. Okay, I got flown out for a business trip. And it was interesting to see. It was sort of like a mixture of like the suburbs and the back roads. Well, the back roads of the suburbs, but like not on steroids, but like, let's say they were on peptides. Yeah. All right. Also, I say to you, my students, that the moneylenders gladly consider the desires of men who seek homes and land for their families. And this is even true to this day, because I was recently on Instagram and I just saw a story about a banker, African American banker, who acquired his first home through grants and things of that nature, and probably, some loans from the bank as well. Readily may thou borrow to pay the brickmaker and the builder for such commendable purposes, if thou can show a reasonable portion of the necessary sum which thou thyself hast provided for the purpose. Then when the house be built, thou canst pay the moneylender with the same regularities as thou didst pay the landlord, because each payment will reduce thy indebtedness to the moneylender. A few years will satisfy his loan. Now, granted, this is past. He's talking about a few years. Now we got 30 loans. This man Trump trying to get us to 50-year loans. So that means you could get a crib and you're not even gonna kick the bucket before you pay that off, baby. I don't know. Again, decisions. But you got this. Why? Because you learned the other cures and you will use all of that. You will consolidate that information to make the best decision. Yes, you will. Then will thy heart be glad, because thou wilt own in thy own right a valuable property, and thy only cost will be the king's taxes. In other words, you can't be Uncle Sam. Even they had to pay taxes. Everybody gonna pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? Now there are loopholes, yada 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 yada. Those loopholes cost money to build the infrastructure around. So unless if you like, again, it takes money to make money. So if you got to do it, you know what I'm saying? Pay them full taxes. Do it. You know what I'm saying? Do it. Because honestly, even if like, digital, when, I don't want to say if at this point, when digital ID does come and it's like a universal thing and like everything's tracked, consolidated into one system, there probably still will be loopholes because nothing's perfect. It's not a perfect world. The AI is learning from humans. Humans are non-perfect. Hopefully, I don't know, the belief that what you're training it on is, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it'll improve from it. We'll see. But there definitely will be a decrease in scams and stuff occurring, potentially. Who knows? Because what if it's like one big powerful AI versus another big powerful AI? And then at that point, wouldn't it just become like another like circle jerk of like, because like, wouldn't they know each other? And then it would be like a scam to pay for security and then like updates. Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Back to the book. Thus come many blessings to the man who owneth his own house, and greatly will it reduce his cost of living, making available more of his earnings for pleasures and the gratification of his desires. This then is the fifth cure for a lean purse. Own thine home. There is great validity in what he is saying, quite frankly, because even think about it in today's day and age. Like, if you need cash and you have a home and you haven't refinanced yet, you could refinance that. You know what I'm saying? Take that cheese that you have accumulated and do something with it, which that thing in turn can then make more money for you. You dig what I'm saying? All right, I'm at 20 minutes. We're going to call it there, people. Thank you again. We are ending it there. The next time you will see me, we will be discussing the sixth cure. Ensure a future income. We'd like to hear that. Talk to you soon.